public throughout the region.
The collapse of the military-oriented Soviet Union has seen a gradual decay of Russia's armed forces, and major reforms have been put in place to put them back on track. Moscow will now pour over $600 billion into refitting the army over the next 10 years. And there's a new man in charge as well. Russia's former envoy to NATO will now put his long experience to good use, helping revamp the country's military. Artist Tom Barton explains why changes are needed.
The Russian armed forces, the pride of the nation, or are they?
The Russian armed forces certainly are falling behind and have fallen behind some of their larger rivals.
New equipment is a priority. There's also a dire need for reforms in organisation, recruitment, training, pay and military doctrine. The government has promised $640 billion over the next 10 years to buy new weapons. But Russian arms manufacturers are no longer what they used to be.
Our army now is in need of contemporary modern equipment. And if the Russian defence industry can't yet provide us with what we need, we'll buy it abroad.
New purchases include this land assault ship, the Mistral, bought from France, lorries from Italy and flying drones from Israel. Drones have proved a particular problem. The Defence Ministry dismayed by the Russian company tasked with designing and building them.
I asked them what was their problem and what prevented them from producing good vehicles. The enterprise's bosses found plenty of excuses, such as the absence of engines, gliders, etc. But I now know how much money they received, and I saw the rubbish they produced.
Not all new Russian-made weapons are falling below standard. The Su-34 fighter bomber is widely considered an exceptional aircraft, but so few have been delivered that the older models they were to replace are starting to fail.
Although Russian designers come up with some excellent hardware, for instance, in terms of fighter and combat aircraft, sometimes industry has trouble in maintaining these at a high level and actually producing them to the kind of numbers that the armed forces need.
And the reforms still have angry opponents too, both in and outside the armed forces. Many of them argue that the rearmament is going just fine and that buying foreign weapons undermines Russia's military independence.
We are becoming dependent on foreign suppliers of spare parts for military equipment, on foreign military personnel training, on foreign supplies of specific fuels and lubricants and other substances needed for the new equipment.
Nonsense, say other observers. In 2008, Russian forces pushed the Georgian army out of South Ossetia in just 5 days. But experts were dismayed at how outdated and clumsy the Russian army looked when faced with real opposition. It reinforced the need for serious change.
The money being thrown at the problem is vast, but regiments of rubles on their own aren't enough. Most here at the Defence Ministry now know that before the armed forces are ready for modern conflict, a very long and very demanding war for reform must be won, here in the corridors of government and in factories around Russia. Tom Barton,